You see there, the vessel called the Titan lost contact with the mothership Sunday morning when they left, about an hour and 45 minutes into the trip down to the Titanic wreckage. Five passengers on the Titan Submersible that was diving 13,000 feet to view the Titanic on the ocean floor died in a catastrophic explosion. The Titanic-bound submersible that went missing on Sunday with five people on board suffered a catastrophic explosion, killing everyone on board. U.S. Coast Guard Rear Admiral John Montague said Thursday a remotely operated
Tall
vehicle
cone
found
found.
of the Titan about 1,600 feet away from the bow of the shipwreck, he said. Now, who was on board? Also perished in the craft. The submersible was descending to explore the wreckage of the luxury liner, located 900 miles east of the Cape Cod and about 13,000 feet below sea level. RMS Titanic was a British passenger liner operated by the White Star Line, which sank in the North Atlantic Ocean on 15th of April 1912 after striking an iceberg during the maiden voyage from Southampton, England to New York.
Well, I've been down there many times. I know the wreck site very well, as does my friend Bob Ballard. I've been made 33 dives. I actually calculated that I've spent more time on the ship than the captain did back in the day. And of course, as a submersible designer myself, I designed and built a sub to go to the deepest place in the ocean, 3 times deeper than Titanic. So I understand the engineering problems associated with building this type of vehicle and all the safety protocols that you have. And I think that what Bob said, because I was watching, is absolutely critical for people to really get the take home message from this, from our effort here, is deep submergence diving is a mature art. From the early 60s, where there were a few accidents, nobody was killed in the deep submergence, until now, is more time than between Kitty Hawk and the flight of the first 747. So if we haven't improved over that period of time, we have improved drastically over that period of time, and the certification protocols that all other deep submergence vehicles, except this one, that carry passengers, especially paying passengers, all over the world in tropical waters, deep coral reefs, other wreck sites, and so on. The safety record is the gold standard. Absolutely. Not only no fatalities, but no major incidents requiring all of these assets to converge to a site. Of course, that's the nightmare that we've all lived with, since all of us entered this field of deep exploration. We live with it in the back of our minds. But because implosion, as Bob described it, such a violent event, is first and foremost in our minds. The pressure boundary, which is what they call the hull of the sub, that the people go inside, is obviously first and foremost in our minds as engineers. And we spend so much time and energy on that. And we use all the computerized tools available today, finite element analysis. We worked on our sphere for our deep vehicle that went to the Challenger Deep for over 3 years, just in the computer, before we even made the thing. And then, of course, we pressure tested it over and over and over, and so on. So this is a mature art, and many people in the community were very concerned about this sub, and a number of the top players in the deep submergence engineering community even wrote letters to the company saying that what they were doing was too experimental to carry passengers and that needed to be certified and so on. So I'm struck by the similarity of the Titanic disaster itself, where the captain was repeatedly warned about ice ahead of his ship, and yet he steamed at full speed into an ice field on a moonless night, and many people died as a result. And for a very similar tragedy where warnings went unheeded to take place at the same exact site, with all the diving that's going on all around the world, I think it's just astonishing. It's really quite surreal. And of course, PH Nargelet, the French legendary submersible dive pilot, a friend of mine. It's a very small community. I've known PH for 25 years. For him to have died tragically in this way is almost impossible for me to process.
This is the attitude that a lot of y'all had. I was wondering why the public was going in on these people who has lost their lives. And of course, they are billionaires. So, in this tweet thread, these people here pretty much answered my question. Because you would think that some people would have a little bit more compassion when it comes to a life. But some people say, I feel like people are way too nice to billionaires these days. You all do realize that these are our corporate dictators, right? And another person said, the reason it's mandatory to laugh at the horrible deaths of billionaires is to let the remaining billionaires know how you feel about them. And then the third person says, billionaires spend an entire pandemic reducing actual living people down to productivity and death numbers, but somehow how we're supposed to be careful not to forget their humanity. GTFO. Go on.
Good morning. Bad news. The missing billionaire submarine has been found, meaning it broke apart in a catastrophic loss of pressure miles below the ocean's surface, which almost doesn't matter because rescuing them has been impossible from the very beginning. The fact that every single person on board knew when they paid $250,000 to get into the unregulated, uninspected, uncertified, and experimental metal contraption, which was never tested for safety and operated in international waters to avoid legal compliance using a Bluetooth video game controller bought on Amazon. But the bigger point than rich people doing reckless, stupid things is that the money could have been used to rescue people who are also trapped in dangerous, cramped, and inescapable situations, except they didn't choose to be there willingly, but were forced into them to sustain a grossly inequitable system where instead of funding education, healthcare, and housing and offering lifelines to those caught in the depths of poverty, they are forced to barely survive until running out of resources in order to directly fund the ability for billionaires to risk the exact same thing, because the quality of these billionaires' lives is so empty and meaningless that they're willing to spend more money than most people will ever earn in their entire lives to stare at a low-resolution screen inside of a dangerous, windowless middle tube. And maybe we shouldn't be trusting people who are so reckless and wasteful with immense resources that could save everyone from an early grave at the bottom of an abyss, these billionaires included. Good morning. Bad news. The missing billionaire submarine has been found.
I guess we have to understand in certain instances of nature that can't be defined. There may be a possibility that we would not ever physically, as a man or woman, get to touch the ocean floor, such as landing on the sun. However, I am pro exploration. I am pro science, technology, engineer, art, and math. These are the areas that answers questions to a lot of the things that are going on in our world today. So I too, like James Cameron, would not discourage civilian exploration. If you can afford it, go ahead and do it. However, we must pay attention to regulations and follow safety approval protocol. because these scientists, they do need this money for research. But here is where the ethics comes in. Because according to James Cameron, allegedly this vessel failed previous tests and was not regulated to do this type of exploration. Well, some of these great scientists are just like musicians and athletes. They have egos as well. I don't know why the warnings were ignored. And I also don't understand why they would allow a young 19-year-old to accompany them. I don't think that this was a situation where, as science was defied, it was just ignored altogether when there were issues in the beginning. So, in the comments below, tell me if you would explore the deep ocean floor, or would you go to the moon, or whatever place would you like to explore? So, y'all tell me what you think about this story. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye now.